Yeah.
And, I know people on the council themselves lost some friends. So, yeah, it's a constant, important reminder of the importance of the work we do.
Yep.
So I'm going to dive right in. Chastity is out of the office, so we don't have minutes, so we don't need to vote. So let's start with introductions for those who may be watching, and then Gordon, I'll turn it over to you to introduce our guests. So Pat, I'll start with you.
Hi, my name is Pat Kimball. I'm retired after 30 plus years in the field of substance use and mental health disorders. And I am the current chair for the Maine Recovery Council. Welcome.
Bruce.
Good afternoon. My name is Bruce Nodden. I'm a person in long-term recovery and a person who lives with mental health challenges. The director of the Maine Reentry Network and one of the vice chairs. Thanks.
Brendan. Thank you. Brendan.
Hi, I'm Brendan O'Neill. I'm an assistant attorney general in the attorney general's office. I'm not a member of the council. I work with the council in my role with the attorney general's office.
Haley.
Haley Tranco, also with the Attorney General's office, also not a council member.
Liz.
Hi, I'm Liz Blackwell-Moore, Director of Public Health for Cumberland County Public Health Department. And I am a member that's represents the subdivisions.
Great. Gordon.
Gordon Smith, I'm the state's director of opioid response in Governor Mills' office. I'm one of the 15 members of the council, one of the 2 appointments of the governor.
Kina.
Hi there, Kina Thakrar. I'm an infectious disease and addiction medicine physician in Portland, Maine.
Great. Todd.
Hi, I'm Chair of the County and council member.
Great. Courtney.
Hi, everybody. My name is Courtney Gary Allen. I am the organizing director of MIRAP, as well as a person with living experience of substance use. And for that, today, this means that I'm grieving the loss of yet another friend to an accidental overdose.
Sorry, Courtney.
So sorry, Courtney.
Prayers are with you.
And others. And I'm Joe Everett, the CEO of the Opportunity Alliance in South Portland and a member of the council and the chair of the Program Grants Committee. And we have several people away today. Chastity's out, Ella's away, Haley's away, and I'm not sure who else. So I'm going to pass it over. Mary's away.
Mary is away.
Yeah, Haley's here, Mary's away. Sorry, Haley. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Gordon, to introduce our guests.
Well, thank you. It's a real pleasure to introduce Georgia Underwood and Barbara Skinner from the Recovery Wellness Initiative. They may look familiar to you because they came down and testified at our public hearing, August, September. I will not remember when the month was, but they testified about the lack of services generally in Piscataquis County and the need to have a recovery center. And result of that, we took a vote in December to support such an initiative, and we wanted to invite them to come and talk about the details. I believe that you've received some documents. I did receive their proposed budget and the answers to some questions that I thought you'd be interested in. I'm not certain that you all got those within the last few hours, but I imagine that will be the basis of their presentation. Do you think, Haley, that you did receive it and it was sent out?
I received it, but it's not in a format that I can open.
Okay.
Is it supposed to be a PDF or?
Well, you'd be asking the wrong person, but they'll come off of what I did. I printed them out here at the office, so I have the hard documents in front of me. And I don't think that not having access to them will necessarily impair their presentation, but I did wanted to ask the question. So Barbara and Georgia, you should come off mute. And was it a PDF or how was it sent?
It was a Word program.
Word document.
I did not receive it at the.
I'll change it right now and send it to you.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
And I think we can basically proceed with their presentation. I've asked that they prepare about 20 minutes and answer any questions that you might have. And then you'll have access to these documents, hopefully before we get through today's call. But I really appreciate the work that they put into this. I had an opportunity in the last hour to read the answers to the questions and go through their budget. And again, they are two of the 6 directors of the Recovery Wellness Initiative, which is a fairly new 501c3 nonprofit organization in Piscataquis County, prepared to do this work with our support. So with that, Georgia and Barbara, take it away.
You were gonna,
Yeah, can you, let me get this.
she's just getting ready to send that in. I don't know if you want to know our mission statement or not. Do you want us to say that as well, Gordon?
Sure.
Okay, our mission statement is, the Recovery Wellness Initiative's mission is to provide a safe, sober space and supportive community for people affected by addiction, regardless of experience, traumas, or hurts, and to create the opportunity for wellness. The vision statement is wellness is a human right. Everyone has the right to become healthy in mind, body, and spirit. The path to recovery is yours to create, and we will meet you where you're at. Relapse is part of recovery. When we take responsibility for our actions, we move forward.
All right. Well, it's still downloading. So I'm going to do the first question, and that question was, what is the timeline for your project? So in the paperwork that I had sent out, and again, it's we, I did a proposed timeline for year 1 project. I wasn't super positive if you wanted a work plan or so I just did a timeline. And so currently in that we're working currently with a real estate agency, and then we will purchase the building, set up insurance, set up utilities. We're going to contact the contractor for the renovations. One of the things that Barb and I are going to have to do is, this is a church property that we're looking at. We're going to have to remove all the pews and sell them. So that is going to take a little bit of time. So, and what we would like to do, if we get the building by April, we'd like to take our recovery cafe and bring it over to the recovery center for an hour and a half on Wednesdays, so people can start getting used to us. And the reason I say that is our grand opening is not until July. We'll install the computers in April, and then we will work with a barn in Bangor. They'll be our consultants. And so meanwhile, we're going to be working on the community outreach, strategic planning, capital campaign, and fundraising plan drives and events. And working on getting a website up. In the future, the plan will be to get funding, marketing, so that we would have a quality website. And of course, we will purchase supplies, purchase beverage and snacks. We'll contact the food cupboards at this point in June, so that we can see what we can work out between us and the food cupboards. And We received a $500 grant from the Kiwanis, and that is going to go towards the artist corner that we're going to have. So we'll purchase a table and some chairs and all the supplies that folks would need. And the staff would not actually start until July 1st. We'll secure office equipment at that time and then have our grand opening the second week in July. So we will be doing 1 or 2 programs. We're going to keep it simple for the first couple of months. We're going to keep recruiting, engaging, and retaining more people. We're going to bring in our community partners. And we're going to bring in youth service, 12-step groups, and other facilitated groups in July. And then in September, we would evaluate how we're doing. And then we need to then we start from there on the programming and seeing how that looks.
Georgia, you're doing great. And I hate to interrupt the flow, but I had a quick question that I'd like to keep on the timeline because I'm not sure that all the members of the council have all the information I have regarding the current state support for the cafe. Does that, and I think it's a great idea, by the way, to bring that over to the new location. You have that state support, don't you, through July 1st?
That's right.
So I just wanted the members of the council to know that that as I recall, like our other independent centers, that was a contract of about $50,000 a year for 2 years, and that concludes on July 1st. So it's nice. It gives them a little bit of current income as there'll be a little overlap. So I didn't mean to interrupt. You're doing great. Keep going.
It's okay.
Can I ask one clarifying question while we're doing
Yes.
questions? Pat Kimball, thank you very much. Can you share with me a little bit what the justifications of waiting till July to hire somebody and why you're not going to hire them from the very beginning to be part of
We've been doing it so far. Georgia is a paid staff from the cafe money. I've been doing everything volunteer at this point or in kind. And that will continue until July 1st.
So the grant ends July 1st, which means that I can start my new position, and Barbara is starting with us brand new July 1st.
I'll actually be starting in June, somewhat part-time, but that'll all be in kind in June. Because I have my other job that I'm going to go part-time at that point to help transfer to a new person taking over my position.
So together we're one paid position.
Any other questions on that?
I think
was just wondering.
Courtney
Go
has
ahead,
her
Courtney.
hand up, Charles.
Sorry,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Courtney.
Super quick clarity. Your one paid position currently, or your one paid position starting July 1?
Starting July 1.
Okay, so you're both going to be like part-time?
Yes.
Together one?
Yes.
Okay.
So when do we expect to close on the property? We're hoping that we can close hopefully by the end of March. We're still in negotiations with the owner. We have met with the real estate agent. As I said, I didn't say, we recently hired a buyer contract because we felt there was a conflict of interest using the same. And our board had voted on that we have our own buyer real estate agent, and she is representing us for no cost. Okay, I'm just reading what she had written here. Our lawyer and other parties involved will follow. We have someone that we're hiring to do the closing, and she has she's probably going to do it free for us. If not, it will just be a little bit. George has been working on making sure all the insurances are in place, been checking to see what we're going to need. And that's expected to be, I believe she has that in the budget, and we'll go over that in a bit. As far as the renovations, that's the timeline and what we're gonna have for renovations is kind of going to depend on what we end up having to pay for the property. At this point, we're looking at least 150,000. Hopefully a little bit less than that, which has brought our renovation cost way down. So we do know that the ADA compliance for the bathrooms in the basement and whatnot, we don't need to use the rooms down in the basement right off, and there is ADA compliance upstairs. We have the ramp that goes to it and an ADA bathroom, so we're not concerned about up there. And we'll also be applying for grants, fundraising, and accept monetary donations. We also plan to recruit volunteers to do a lot of the repairs. We have a lot of family and friends that are contractors or electricians or whatever. So we plan on using a lot of that as well.
I did want to say that the renovations do not impact our opening.
Because we can use the upstairs of the building, which is what
Mhm.
we plan to use for the recreation, for the center anyway. Everything is already compliant up there, other than getting the pews out of there.
Yeah. So it'd be a big empty church space. So
Any
questions
that?
on that one?
I have a little question about, I don't want to get too dragged down in this, but you have in your proposed budget, I think, a purchase price of maybe 150, I think. Now, we
Yes.
know the property has been on the market and most recently marketed at 195. Is there any, I don't think that the state honestly should get involved in what you pay for this property. That seems somehow inappropriate to me. But I'm wondering if you really have an expectation that you could buy this property for 150 instead of 195.
We have been in negotiations with them so far. We have just counteracted, the last offer that they came to us with was 160.
Okay, and you've counted with 150.
And we've counted on, actually we counted on 145 due to closing costs, bringing it up to 150. The real estate agent that we're working with had actually been the last real estate agent that was used for this property 2 years ago, where it was 129,000. Because of the conversations that we've had with the owner in the past, we feel that 150 he may go for. If not, we'll go a little bit higher. We'll need to, but there's no way we need to be fiscally responsible. We need to be good stewards of this money. And in all honesty, if we were to pay that 195, we probably wouldn't sustain more than a year and a half because of the cost we'd put into the building. There wouldn't be the money for renovations and whatnot. So we're
Well,
trying to be good stewards here.
Sure, I'm encouraged that if the seller's at 160 and you've counted 150, at least we on this call can have the expectation that, well, it's not going to be more than 160. We're not dealing with 195. So that kind of gives us an idea of the kind of cushion you'll have for renovations and operation costs. So that's just the answer I was looking for, Barbara. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Courtney's got her hand up unless she just didn't take it down.
I just didn't take it down, sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
All right. So the next question was, please describe the nature and structure of your governance board. So we are a 501c3. We have a board of directors, which is 6 of us, that are responsible for governance, legal, and finances. They come from a diverse background, and everyone that is on the board is somehow affected by substance use disorder. And our board guides and oversees the organization. The board plays a role in our management structure, processes, and decision-making. And the board decides what will be implemented, how much will be spent, and who will be nominated when time comes for a new board elect. So it's a regular board. And I put in the paperwork, the board of directors, who they are. And I've also attached our bylaws, which I'm sure you don't want me to read. Okay. And so I'm going to go over the budget. Do you want me to share? We're going to try to share this.
Can we share the screen?
Yeah.
Yes, 1 second. Also, I emailed you guys all the PDF version of the document they're referring to. You should all have it in your emails.
Okay, here's our budget.
Good. We can see that nicely. Thank you.
All right. They're going to miss our beautiful flyer.
I know. That's all right.
All right. So, what is your budget over the first 2 years of operations? So if you look,
You can't do it that way. This isn't a touch screen, Georgia.
yeah, how do I go down?
Let me make it larger. Oh, it's not gonna let me do it here. Hold on 1 second, sorry.
Oops.
Lost it. Can't do it. Just go.
All right. So
You're only missing the very bottom line is the total. So we can see everything else except, the total. You can give us those 2 totals.
all right. So we're going to use 72% of the 350,000 reserved for the Recovery Community Center the first year. 162, 356 will go towards purchasing, building, and renovations. And as you can look in the budget, I put in closing costs, I put in taxes, inspections, and renovations. And the closing title, search, tax, title, insurance, that's the lawyer. I'm a person that believes that we need to have that in the budget just to, because people say things, we don't have anything in writing, so it's there. I got quotes from the lawyer, and we got quotes from inspection, we've got quotes from the renovations, the closing costs, building insurance, and we've gone to the town about the taxes.
Which we did learn because we are a 501c3 public charity. We will not have to pay property taxes. And if we're able to close before April 1st, we will not have to pay any for the coming year because that's when they do their evaluations.
So originally we had estimate for the renovations at $75,000. Well, you can look at the budget, you can tell that we wouldn't have any money to purchase the building if we did that. We are open to suggestions. And again, we've got our staffing in there, and in the paperwork that I wrote, training and development specialists in the state of Maine, even in our area, is around $34 an hour. And that's what Barbara and I pretty much consider us. So we just went with 27. And you'll notice that I am the program director, and I'm working 25 hours instead of 20. That's due to all the administrative work. I've been doing this long enough to know that if I said 20 hours, I'll be working 40. And if I say 25, I'll probably be working 44. So, you know, we'll actually keep track of our in-kind hours at this point. And in there, it says ONET, which is something that the career centers use for well, any employers can use it too. And it tells you the range of salary versus hourly. And so our program expenses, those are real numbers. We got those from Dr. Starbird, the owner of the building. And I also have been in contact with an insurance agent. So we hope that those expenses, the payroll expense is Bangor Savings, and the bookkeeping is from the Central House Commons, who we will not be using for a bookkeeper, but I asked how much they charge their bookkeeper.
One of our board members is actually going to be that bookkeeper.
Yeah. So as you know, the program expenses will keep the doors open. The other expenses I threw in there, if you don't agree with the $2,500 for material, food, technology, sport, travel, training, and education, then we can take that out. Also, my board asked me to do an adjustment for year 2, and I chose to do a 3% adjustment instead of 10% that was suggested because we just do not have the funding for it. And I'm done. No, so there must be questions.
Did you just say 3% versus 10%?
Yes, my board suggested I do 10% adjustment for year 2, and I said I would rather be more conservative and say 3.
Okay.
It's
Pat,
just,
oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, it's just the way things are today. You don't know what the electric bill is going to look like and what the oil bill is going to look like.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking it's more likely 10%. And I'm not being, cynical. I just want to make sure you guys have what you need.
And
But
I
we
can, yeah.
Pat, go ahead. We can come back to that, but I think just want to make sure you guys have what you need.
So your budget looks good. I do have probably like Joe, I have some of the similar concerns, just little concerns in regards to is that enough to sustain you in year 2? But one of the questions I have, you said the barn is going to help you. Can you tell me what role the barn will be playing in this?
They're going to be our consultants. We talked to them this past week. Oh, she's got it.
All right. Well, I gotta find it. Oh, right here. I believe it's question number 8. Do you anticipate receiving any consultation from any of the recovery community centers in the state? So we called up Bob Fickett at the Bangor Area Recovery Network and talked to him for about a half an hour about how we could collaborate and how he could help us by being our consultant. And he agreed. We agreed to go to the barn and volunteer. And meanwhile, we're in there, we'll be doing, we'll look at his billing and mostly the administrative stuff and see how they run. And I did ask Bob to talk to his board about this. So we're going to learn, their billing, their invoicing, and the daily operations process. And we're going to work with their volunteer coordinator, Joe. about how to do this volunteer coordination. I have experience, but this area is hard. This area is really hard. And we're going to collaborate also with them, Piscataquis and Penobscot County, with events.
So
And so,
Todd has a question.
okay.
Sorry, I just want to make sure you guys are done. I didn't want to cut you off.
Well, I just have two more things. So, we don't have an issue calling other recovery centers for help. We've been doing it all year. We've actually gone up to Lincoln and Medway and Portland and Bangor and gone in and talked to the EDs and staff on how they run things. And one of the things that I currently am doing, since it was brought to my attention last time when I was speaking with Gordon, is I've been watching Facebook posts and looking at their websites to see how that structure looks. Okay.
That's great. Really good. Todd, go ahead.
My question was, I just can't, as Gordon pointed out, I can't read the totals. Can you just read those off to us at the bottom of the budget there?
Yeah. I want to make sure I have the right budget. All right. The first year is 253,639, and the second year is 96,361. So there is something with staffing that I would like to bring up. Because this budget's on a year base, and we wouldn't start until July. So I had sent an email out earlier trying to figure out what your quarters were, but I haven't got a response. So I didn't adjust it because not to be rude, I currently bill through the state of Maine and their budget allocation, and you can go months without pay. So I'm a little nervous. I get nervous because that's my only pay. All right.
So if I
Go
can
ahead, Pat. Go ahead,
answer
Pat.
that, currently we can't filter our money through the state. It is our own money, but it filters through the Attorney General's office. That on our part isn't totally 100% cemented how we're going to do that. We have to come up with a plan, and we're developing our own contracts. Originally, we thought we could filter the money through the state, and that's what would happen. But that most likely is not going to happen. You will have a separate contract with the state, and in that contract, we will figure out how funding is being dispersed. And I would hope that I do know your pain. I ran an agency for a long time. I know your pain of you got to get the check. And what you don't want to hear from us is, well, go get a line of credit. That's not the way to run an agency. We hear you with that. So just be a little bit patient with us. We're trying to figure that out, but that payment will be discussed when those contracts are ready to be pulled out and done. But we do know that we understand that agencies, this is their bread and butter. They don't have a savings account. We get that. So I don't think that. The other caution I would have here, and it's a caution, I can't tell you what to do, is if you're supposed to work 20 hours, figure out a way to work the 20 hours. If you're working 40 hours, you should be paid to be working the 40 hours. And I know that that puts a hardship on your budget, and I know your hearts and souls are in this. I get that. But just keep that in mind, because you lose people that way. They get burnt, they get fried. And so please keep that in mind. If you're working 30 hours, you should be paid for 30 hours. And again, I know this project is your soul. And so just a caution on my part.
So
We appreciate that.
before Courtney, I let you or take your question, or we take your question. Can we talk a little bit about the question around sort of our quarters? Because you probably have a fiscal year end. Brendan, do you imagine our fiscal year end being the state's fiscal year end, which is June 30th, right?
Yes, I believe that's right. Yeah.
So that would be our year end, so to speak, which doesn't mean that has to be yours, but that's how we'll be, or I think that's just important to know. In terms of how the funding gets sent to you, if it's going to be over that, to your point around if there's 3 months left in this fiscal year, but we'll work those, we have the staff will work out all those details as Pat said, but just to let you know, that's sort of my agency the year end lines up with the state June 30th.
All right.
Okay. Courtney, go ahead.
I just wanted to reiterate what Pat said to you all. And also I do have a request with it. But I just want to reiterate that if you are working 40 hours a week, I would really like to see a budget from you that is 40 hours a week. And let me tell you, I have worked in startup organizations my entire career. And this year was the first year that I've ever been paid appropriately for my work, and probably still not getting paid enough, but more appropriately for my work. And I nearly killed myself doing it. And it gives me quite concern to see you all doing it too. So I would like, I mean, this will be a question for the council, but I would like to see a budget from you all that includes 2 full-time positions. And if that costs more money for the council, then I want to have that discussion rather than set you up for failure or set your families up for what I put my family through. So that's my kind of question and request to both you all to put together that budget and then to have somewhere on the agenda to have a conversation about a real budget, not a.
I would like to kind of address that, Courtney. I'm totally fine with working part-time. I'm actually going to be getting my retirement here in a couple of months. So this was going to be a part-time job for me for that reason. But, and I know, Gordon has spoken to this young man. We had a discussion with a young man, his name is Alan Burgess, and he would love to come on full-time. We don't have the budget to do that, but he would be intricate in the recovery center because of his passion. He started the NA group here in Piscataquis County, and it grew from 2 people sitting in a room, as he told us the other day, to up to 12 to 15 people every meeting. He wants to be the person to be out there talking to folks and getting people to donate, getting people to know that we're here. He wants to be a volunteer coordinator. He wants to work 40 hours and be that front person for us. And if we had that front person, we could very easily stay as part-time people. Trying to do everything along with that, yeah, we'd have to work 40 or more hours a week. I agree with you on that.
Okay, well, I would like to not see that happen. I don't know how the rest of the council feels, but I would like to see you not working more time than you're being paid for. So if you could put together a request that either includes Georgia at full time or hiring that person, I don't need to know all those details. I just need to know that it's appropriately staffed and that you all are getting paid what you need to be paid.
So what Courtney's saying to you is that you can request more money from the council. If you put together a realistic budget, you can request more money. She's not asking you to work within what we gave you. She's saying realistically, if you need more money, ask for it. We may say no, we may say yes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Ask for more money. I feel like people in recovery never ask for enough money. Ask for the money, girls. And if we say no, we say no. Or if we say we can't do that all, then whatever. But ask for what you need. Don't be working overtime for free.
It doesn't make your work less meaningful if you get paid appropriately.
And I think that We like that, but we look at grants and we're looking at this as a grant that you can only get X number of dollars. So it's really nice to hear that we can request that more. And I think that we can make a really good argument for more money and hiring Alan, because he's definitely going to be the person that's going to make this go huge in Piscataquis County. Thank
Make
you.
your ask
Yeah.
and let us tell you no. And now I'm off my soapbox.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, Courtney.
I
I think
I
No,
do
you're
want
not,
to.
Courtney. You know you're not done.
No, I'll probably come back. You're right, Pat. Sorry.
So I'm not ready to retire, but I also take care of 3 parents, and now I have a grandbaby. So that's why I actually work like 27 hours through the state right now, which sometimes it's more than that. But it's difficult to juggle. That's my parents' stuff and my mother-in-law and now a baby. So I'm happy with 25 because I want to give the best of what I can give.
Right.
So maybe your budget looks like 1 full-time director and 2 part-time at staff.
Yep. Yes.
All right, we're going.
thank you.
Gordon,
Thank you. I'm gonna just keep moving along. Gordon, and then Todd.
Well, just a couple things. I think my question goes back, the comments I was gonna make go back a little bit, that I wanted Barbara and Georgia to know that the way that these payments will be, this is a very unique contract because of the property purchase, and that we're not going to be doing our contracts like the state does, and that obviously we will. Now, Brendan might have to correct me here because he and Mary will be responsible for this contract, but it's pretty obvious to me that the likelihood would be we will front the money for the purchase. I mean, we wouldn't expect you to go out and borrow money and somehow then bill us for what you paid. And then periodically, but nothing like the way the state does, breaks them out into 12 equal payments and then pays late. We would then our staff would work with you to see when the subsequent payments are fronted to you so that you can get the work done. I like the way the discussion's gone regarding the possibility of you requesting more money for staffing. And yes, I've met with Alan. He could be absolutely the key to, along with the 2 of you, to making this successful. He would love to work full time at a reasonable rate, leave his job, and he's already, leading the recovery support group, which is just fantastic. So, we're way more in the weeds in this conversation than we should be. We're not going to be able to do this with 22 recovery centers, but it turns out that this one is our first, and it's got some unique features to it. And I just love the way the discussion's going. And I think, Joe, we should make sure that they are able to go through any other I know there was a question regarding, well, what services are you going to be providing there? And I don't think they've gone through that. There may be a couple other pieces of their presentation that we should hear, and then we should talk amongst ourselves and put them back into the public panel. Again, everything we do will be still, subject to public view, of course, full discussion. But then we would talk amongst ourselves as to the recommendation that we might want to make to the council next week.
So I think that was a really good point, Gordon. I've been thinking as I've been listening, kind of like the operation of the center. Like for my organization, the staffing is directly correlated with what you do. So I think if you could think about, as to Courtney's point and Pat's, around like, if you 2 stepped away tomorrow, like what would it take to keep going? So I think if you maybe take a few minutes and talk a little bit more about the service model, which you did start, you described how you're going to sort of ease into it. I think, and you can even send us more information, but I think just sort of matching up, like we're going to be open 9 to 9 and we're going to do this, I don't know your model, but just to make sure that we know everything so that we can deliberate around increased funding if necessary. And on that, Todd, I'll pass it to you.
Can you still hear me okay?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to kind of build on what Courtney was saying with regard to the budget. I'm worried about, it looks to me like you tried to shoehorn this into the amount allocated, and I appreciate that, right? So, but I wonder about some of your estimates here, and I'm concerned about renovations, right? Even if you have a lot of volunteers, which is great. I know you mentioned your connections there, which is awesome. It's a great way to build community coalition at the same time. So, but I wouldn't, I don't know, I don't know what this building looks like, but just ripping out pews, I'm wondering what that's going to leave you floor. It's not going to take long to go through $7,200 worth of just materials. To get this this building in a situation. So I mean, if you're okay with that and you think that that's going to get it done, based on, I just worried about any other corners that you may have cut in the budget here. Courtney was focused on staff. I'm just looking at the other things, including the 3% adjustment for 2025. I'm not sure what that 3% is based on. So, and I'm not sure that's not going to leave you guys with a really tight budget that second year. So when you readjust this thing and you come back to us, I would just encourage you, if you have tried to just kind of make this work and fit it within that 350,000, to be more realistic. But you know what I mean? And just get it in there and let us take a look at it so we as a council can see what we can do.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, and you're right. We did try to fit it in all under that.
So as you're thinking about, the budget and the operation, et cetera, just send things on to Mary and she can help and she'll get it to the right people in the council that can also help. And then we can sort of shepherd it to the full council or whatever the outcome is of today. But don't be shy, I guess, is what I'm hearing, sort of really laying out what your needs are to get off the ground.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Is there anything else you folks want to add in terms of the model, sort of like, and I'm just curious, and I know this is to Gordon's point, too much. Yeah, and like just sort of the hours of operation. I think just that, to Todd's point, it eats up a lot of money. So just like, and I know it's a little bit in the weeds, but it might just help us to sort of deliberate sort of your financial request. If it is.
So at this time, we were looking at Wednesdays from the 10 to 11:30 when we run a normal cafe anyway. And then on Thursdays and Fridays, we were looking at 12 to 6. If Alan comes on, he would like to be full-time and there more often, as well as going out and doing that, the outreach. What we plan to provide is recovery coaching referrals to Healthy Acadia in the barn, 12-step meetings and other peer facilitated support meetings. We're going to have community events, fundraisings, gatherings. We have one planned right now for a spaghetti dinner. We'll have naloxone training and distribution, educational programs on well-being, wellness, essential life skills, and would like that to be in the center as well as going to the schools. Access to computers and the internet, information technologies out of Waterville are donating 2 computers and a laptop or tablet for folks that are having telehealth appointments that have a place to go with a laptop or tablet. Of course, the access to computers and internet. We'll offer art, yoga, meditation, recreational activities, employment assistance. Right now, I am a workforce development specialist. Georgia had mentioned ONET. And I use that a lot to help people figure out what kind of career they want to have.
I'm also a workforce
Yes,
development specialist.
and of course, we'll have options involved. So, and that's just a very small list of
Yeah.
things that we're going to offer. I mean, as we get going, that list is going to change, or I'm sure be added to, depending on what the people that come and talk to us need. There also on this paper that Georgia had done is facts on the internet. I just want to clarify one thing because it kind of bugs me. It says households with computers from 2018 to 2022 is 90%. And people that had broadband or internet subscriptions was 80.8%. I just need to say, I believe that 80.8% at this point is high, because 2 months ago, the free or cheaper access for families since COVID ended within the last couple of months. So I think that we're going to see that number decrease for who actually has internet in their home. I just wanted to add that little piece in there.
Yeah, before COVID, we were at 64.5%. So if anything, if they've done a lot of work bringing in broadband, then they've done a great job. I just have a hard time believing those numbers.
Yeah. And I had to say it.
And so I just want to talk to you about assistant finding recovery-friendly employment through the referral to the Department of Labor programs and other resources. Again, we're both workforce specialists, so we both have a bunch of resume, how to job search, how to do job interviewing, job skills. But we will work with Eastern Maine Development, and we will work with Piscataquis Valley Adult Education, and we have also contacted the Career Center. The Career Center doesn't come to Dover, but however, we'll make an exception to come to our Recovery Community Center.
That when I talked with the Career Center out of Bangor, the woman I spoke with was really excited about being able to come to a center in Sangerville.
And one of the most important things is we're also very knowledgeable in financial and program that supports further education. And I'm not going to list out who all that is.
And as far as transportation, Penquist has a nice program for folks that are on Maine Care, that they can get 1 or 2 rides per week to something that's non-Maine Care billable. So we will definitely have the applications and fill those out for folks so that they can get transportation, as well as trying to set up ride shares with other folks. Yeah. You have your hand raised, Pat?
I do. Just a quick thought. And again, it's just a thought. So because you're so rural, and I know that you have some problems, it's getting better in Dover area with internet. The possibility of searching out either a grant or doing it, of having the ability of Zoom. I know that during COVID, that was a lifesaver for Barn and for many of the peer recovery centers, particularly with weather and everything else. If you have the capacity to do Zoom, although we resisted it for a long time, it really was a lifesaver for many people. And you may want to, again, we've already added to your budget. Don't you like the way we just throw money around? But you may want to consider it, because again, I know the transportation issue in that area. I'm a part-time resident of Piscataquis County. So you may want to look into, there may be some technical grants or something you get into to get that technology in the building, to get some, large screen TVs. Courtney's got on here, I'll use the use of what they call an owl for meetings. These are things that you want to have on your wish list that I think will help a very rural center.
Agree.
Any other questions from the committee members?
I did want to just address that. It was asked if we would be able to assist individuals with some of the necessities of life. And I mentioned before, we'll work with the food cupboards. We have a good relationship with the Piscataquis Regional Food Center, which is Craft. We also have great relationships with PVAEC, which is Piscataquis Valley Adult Education. And they currently have a career closet, so we don't need to redo the wheel. So we can send people over here, and we have
Free. It's
free
free.
everything and books as well. And then personally, I would like to do a fundraiser or a drive on toiletries, because I find somebody in long-term recovery, and I can remember just, can I buy this shampoo or not? It gets me. And of course we have Helping Hands with Heart, which works on the social determinants of health, poverty, unequal access to healthcare, lack of education, stigma, racism, and other contributing factors. And again, we will collaborate with Central Hall Commons on events and so forth, as they have educational series trainings, and the space they have it's very nice. So I've already spoken to the director, so we're pretty good on being able to, if we can't offer an event in our space, we'll bring it over there.
So I don't, this might be in the document that you sent, but how many people do you think you will reach? You know, like in a year's time, how many people will, like, what's the need? And you guys may have covered this in the hearing too. I'm just curious.
Well, I can tell you, from a project that Sue Mackey Andrews and I did on Helping Hands with Heart. We did a survey, and we found out that 1,500 residents are receiving ongoing prescription medications to support their recovery in Piscataquis County alone. And we have 600 grand families. This is 2022. So more than 300 individuals from that survey indicated they would use a recovery center.
Also, we have a Facebook page and we have close to 400 people on that page. We've had private conversations with some. They're excited about this getting started up because they have no place to go. Bangor's just too far. And that includes Dexter, that yes, is in Penobscot County, but is like 10 minutes from the Sangerville Center.
That's really great though, that 300 or 400 people indicated they would use the center. I mean, that's awesome. And I'm just really good data points. You know, that's great that the data you're looking at that you have available to you. So that's exciting. I mean, I'm sad and unfortunate that the need is significant, but still a lot of people needing the service and the supports.
And it has started, as far as the youth, there's a program at Northern Lights in Dover. Young lady Bree is involved in that, and she's looking forward to having some of those youth programs within the center. And that's gonna really increase other folks that are coming in as they see it and know that we're there.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'd also like to include NAMI in that, in which I think they'll bring in more people as well. There was one other service besides.
You have a domestic violence project.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm on the board. No, well, it's not a board. I'm on their committee. Yeah. I have an interest in trafficking and having people aware and educated about that in the state of Maine.
And I'm a strong believer that recovery is not just for this substance or that substance, but all recovery that is needed starts from some kind of trauma. I have 18 years of mental health case management behind me, and I do have my CADC. And I just believe that when people ask me what the recovery center is for, I just look at them and say, anyone that has trauma needs some kind of recovery. It's not a one-way street.
Yeah, and we have a lot of co-occurring disorders here.
I refer to peer recovery centers as sanctuary.
Yep.
And we call ourselves the Wellness Initiative. Wellness is such a big word. I like to think of it as well-being.
Yep.
Okay, so I think we covered everything. You guys threw me off because I like to go in order.
That's what we do.
And I know we had 20 minutes.
We've probably gone over. Sorry.
No, this was really great. Very helpful. Thank you for all the detail.
You've done a wonderful job. Thanks for answering all the questions that I raised, and really, we have, like I say, if anything, we're probably more into the weeds than we should be, but you've done a beautiful job to lay out where you are and where you'd like to go. I really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate that you're giving us this time and the opportunity to be able to finally do this in our county. It's kind of bringing some tears to my eyes because it's something that's really needed, and we appreciate that. And we can definitely give you a more real budget for sure.
Great.
That's great. Really great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Can't leave. There we go.
Miles is with us.
Hi, Miles.
Hey, sorry, I gotta be in the bedroom. But thank you for having me here.
Well, thank
We're
you for
glad to
doing
see you.
you.
So just in terms of next step, Pat, and I guess I would ask this question of you around process that kind of ties to all of the projects in motion, but what do you think we need to move this forward? So Miles, we talked to the women that just left about their budget primarily, just they're being very modest, and we opened the door to sort of more fun, a conversation among the council. So just Pat, if you have ideas about how to walk that through, and I think Mary and you and others could help with sort of the budget, but what would you like that to look like?
So I
Or-
think Mary has to reach out to them and get that realistic budget, and look at that, and then bring it to the full council to see if the full council will take an increase in request. But I think we need to see it's one thing to say they need more money, but how much is more money? And where the council, it was the full council who approved the amount. So if we see that budget and the budget is more realistic for them, and Mary can work with them, as well as Gordon already has a relationship with them. Gordon also on behalf of the council, and then bring it before the council and say, you know what, we gave them some money and they're asking for a little bit more, and why. They'll see what the variance is, and if we have questions, we can ask them beforehand.
Well, I think that for me, my question about numbers served, I think they just need their hours of operation. I mean, if this was a typical grant proposal to the department, that would be a key question. So we want to make sure they have capacity to be open. Not to go down the rabbit hole like Gordon suggested, but okay, Miles, then Gordon, then Courtney.
This question is for Gordon. Hey, Gordon, are they on their list? Are they on the list for the state, for some of the money that's coming from the state for recovery centers? Do you know?
They're not.
they're not. And has that already been proposed, that budget for this year? Or, and so money has already been allocated?
So, I can quickly, and it's an important consideration for all of you to be aware of. So there were 22 applications. They've been scored and they're about to be announced, I would guess, within the next couple of weeks. And there'll be, for those that are not funded for 2 years, then there'll be a second chance through, we have about $600,000 left of state money that have been used, that would be expected to continue support at, say, $50,000 a year. The successful applicants are going to be getting more than that. But at least we would be able to keep at level funding some of the independents that we've been funding if they were not successful in the first round. And then the third option they have is we identified support for recovery community centers as our highest priority in the recovery support thing. And we've only done one because we were waiting for the scoring of those state ones. So in my opinion, they get 3 shots at this. And so, but because of the unique situation that Piscataqua County is in, they'll be in a very unique posture. They won't have to go to second chance, third chance. The goal there would be, when their 2 years gets done, would we then be out there at the state, or would we have a sustainable funding source for all the recovery centers that they would then be in line for? So we are just trying to give them every chance to be successful over the next two years, Miles, but they're not in that state application pool right now.
Thank you, Gordon.
Did you have another comment or question?
Well, I think from the comments that we're probably prepared to make a recommendation to the council. And the council meets a week from Thursday, right? And because this property is for sale, they need to do this now. So I'm going to ask them to get their amended budget. I'm going to suggest that it include full-time funding for the gentleman that we've talked about, because it really is the key to potentially making this successful. And that they get that budget to us by Monday, so that it can be shared with the council members when Haley or Mary sends out the packet, so that we can make a final decision. If we're going to increase the level of funding, which I would certainly be in support of, this is coming together much better than I thought. The purchase price, the potential of having a full-time person. And by the way, this individual that wants to work full-time, he would also do many of the renovations while he's in that. And his 10 or 15 person support group, they're ready to take out those pews tonight. I mean, this really is going, it almost brings together, you see, 2 different, they're not factions, but 2 different really groups. And I feel so strongly, because I've seen it other places, that these centers are successful when they're supported by the recovery community. And if they're not supported by the grassroots, the recovery community, then they're not going to meet their promise. So that's all I had. I'm sorry to talk so much.
No, Gordon, I'm really, really appreciative that you raised that, because that was, to my point, I was being gracious, just sort of around the numbers. So that gets like a crew of people in there. It'll grow, and it's truly a barn raising. So I think that's really good intel, good information, and I support the compensation for that person too, because I think they want to be open as much as they can. They want their doors open as much as possible. So I like the idea of Monday. And then bring it to the council on Thursday for a recommendation. Courtney.
2 super quick things. Speaking of sustainable funding for recovery community centers, there is a pending piece of legislation on the appropriations table right now that would create a sustainable funding source for recovery
community centers. So if anyone on this council wanted to call any appropriations committee members, they should. But that was not my point. My point was, I would like to see, and I don't know if it's in the document that she sent because I haven't been able to open it on my phone, but I would like to see some measurable outcomes for this. Like in any traditional grant, like how many people are you going to serve? How many groups are you going to hold? How many, I don't know, but just numbers that we can measure their, what is the word? Like progress, or is it working or is it not working? So if those aren't in there and they're listening, if they could just provide that to us for the Monday council meeting too.
No, and Freisinger and I have been talking with Mary about the metrics that any recovery center would be reporting to us. And because it's the level of activity. I mean, you can get down deeper into, recovery capital increases and things, but certainly the number of events, the number of people coming through the door, that's all going to be in the contract that Brendan will be so generously drafting for us.
Okay, and Dr. T says it is in the end of the PDF that they provided, so I just haven't been able to open that on my phone. So great, thanks.
Any other questions about this initiative? Todd?
Well, a comment really. I mean, would it be following Gordon's thought process about getting this before the council? I mean, procedurally, would it, without having the budget, without looking at, assuming that they're able to answer all these questions that we've proposed, or these things we're going to follow up with them on, would it not be appropriate for us to formally make a recommendation if those things that come back to us are reasonable, that it's our recommendation that if it's possible, the council in fact fund those? If what I'm saying is making sense, I'm not, I just, it seems to me that if we're not prepared as a committee to make a formal recommendation at the next meeting, it may be a little more confusing for other council members. That's all. We've had a chance to look at it. We've had a chance to digest it. Understanding we haven't seen any of the changes yet, without committing ourselves to a dollar amount or committing ourselves to anything that we think is unreasonable that may come forward from them or doesn't make sense. It just seems to me like I'm of the mindset that I think they need a little bit more money, whether it's for the full-time personnel, whether it's for this or that. $1,000 closing costs on a $150,000. I don't know where that comes from. Maybe they've worked that out with a realtor and the bank and everything. That'd be cool, but I don't know. That, you see what I mean? There's just a lot of little things there that probably doesn't add up to a ton of money. But I just think it seems to me that it brings more validity to the rest of the council if we're prepared to make a recommendation, even if it's generic.
I think we can make a motion that says that the Program and Grants Committee is making a recommendation that we review the amount awarded to Piscataquis County to propose, I don't know how you'd say it, propose an increase to ensure that they have the staffing necessary to run the peer recovery center. Is that making sense?
Yes,
I
and
really
I'm the note taker, Pat. I'm taking notes too, Pat. So I'm gonna write. I've got that. I think. Can I say operating costs and staffing, which are kind of the same, but just to be clear? Go ahead, Gordon.
I really love that because I was really struggling with a dollar amount because, the public's watching this. And so, people aren't crazy. If we say, well, if we put in a dollar amount, then I would expect the budget would be submitted up to that dollar amount. So I love the idea of saying that we would like the council to revisit the amount to ensure that adequate staffing is achieved, whatever you just said, Pat. So that's beautiful. It doesn't put a dollar amount in, sends the right signal to the council. I think there's almost half of us here. And this could really make the difference between this project potentially not really being robust in 2 years from now and having it really make a difference in Piscataquis County. So I really appreciate the time you've given it to it today.
So just procedurally, Pat, I'm going to hold your motion and take Courtney's question, and then we'll go back to the motion. So Courtney, go ahead.
I'll second her motion in just a second, but I just wanted to provide justification to the council and to the public on this. As a quick reminder, during our voting process, I was the one to propose $100,000 in staffing, and I made that proposal with no understanding of the actual operating costs. And so I believe this is an appropriate reconsideration of that proposal due to new information. So on that note, with my justification, I will, oh wait, I can't. I'm not a member of this council. I'm not a member of this committee, so I'm gonna stop talking. Someone else has to do it.
So I'm going to take it back. We're going to move into the motion. So Pat, I hear a motion. Do you want me to try to reread the motion, or do we?
Can you repeat the motion?
Yeah, so I think the Program and Grants Committee is making a recommendation that the council review the amount awarded, the dollar amount awarded to Piscataquis County for the purpose of a recovery center, to propose or consider an increase in the staff and operations cost. And
second
Haley, you can make that prettier if necessary, and Todd, there's a second. Todd had seconded it. Any further discussion? Okay, Haley, do you want to call the roll?
Yep. Liz Blackwell-Moore,
Yes.
Todd Brackett,
Yes.
Joe Everett,
Yes.
Pat Kimball,
Yes.
Bruce Nodden,
Yes.
Miles Olet,
Yes.
Gordon Smith,
Yeah.
Keena Thakkar,
Yes.
Chastity Toole, not here. Motion carries. That's 8.
Thank you. Good job. So can I just sort of move into sort of just the quick update, and Pat, feel free to help me with this. So the projects in motion, being led by Mary and Ella and others. So we have the contracts being worked through and the applications being developed. And I had a meeting with Ella and Mary last week, and sort of just am recommending that we just keep that moving, just keep it moving. And at some point they'll brief the council, but they've worked on it. We feel like we have the numbers nailed down. Pat, anything you would add to that in your conversation and your work with the women?
No, they're moving forward. It just, again, people had time off that couldn't be changed, and so that slowed it down a little, which, again, both of them were apologetic, particularly Mary, about that. But I think that part is moving forward, and I think we're getting really close, which is a good thing. So that was all I have. They're working hard at it. I will add that the Finance Committee met, and they, when Mary comes back, the Finance Committee, along with Ben, will be looking at that application, and we'll be reviewing the budget page as to how that will look for that application. That we want a budget page to go with it, and the Finance Committee has agreed to look at it and do some work on that. So, and hopefully, again, we want things to move forward, but we don't want it to slow down. So.
Awesome. Brendan, anything from you around the contracts that you want to add? Oh, for some reason
it says you're not muted, but there you go.
Not at this time. I think, I've got templates and models that I'm working on or working from.
Brittany,
Great.
can I ask a question about the contracts? In
Sure.
the contract, you have in there, will there be scheduled payments?
I mean, I'm looking at the state contracts as templates that, this group can deviate from. I think that'll be a discussion, for for the council, or for particular committees about, how the money is to be paid. So, I'm using the state contracts as existing templates, and to the extent that the group wants to deviate from those, those are things that I'll want to hear more about, and we can discuss. The long and short of it is, there's no reason why we have to follow a particular payment model. It's really, I'm mindful of wanting to ensure proper use of the state funds, protecting the state funds, wanting to ensure that we're making sure the money's that's already out the door is being properly used. The usual sort of good governance things that we see in the state contracts, that I'm sure adds to just layers that may be difficult, but those are sort of the concepts that I'll be paying attention to.
Okay, thank you.
That's great. Just two last items. One is the document that Mary and Ella sent out around the priorities. I think they did a fabulous job laying that out. So Ella reached out to me over the weekend just around, they're going to keep working with the committee members and the council members. So I think, Pat, that might show back up at the council meeting, or will it show up back here in 2 weeks? I think we had hoped that we would do more here, but then they're not here. So I think that I think stay tuned to hear from more folks to hear from those women.
Yeah, I think that if I'm not mistaken, we were hoping with the smaller committee to get it more succinct and to look at it, and then actually be able to make some form of recommendations and then go to the full council. I think to bring that document cold to the full council would be difficult. I think, and it's just my opinion, but I think it needs to come here first and then filter down to the larger committee.
I agree. Totally. Perfect. So I just anticipate hearing from them. It'll be on the agenda. The last item, Gordon, is the detox. And I talked to Mary and Ella about that. So just any thoughts about that, and we can also add that. So next meeting, I'll get this agenda to you, Haley, would be sort of the priorities, and then if the detox would be kind of the two items that are sort of the detox is the last of the package, and then priorities. But Gordon, any thought about the detox conversation?
Yeah, I've had a lot of thought and conversations about it. I think we've learned a lot from the experience in Washington County, where we put out the state money and no one accepted it. Now we're probably going to put it back out, maybe and change the parameters a little bit, including being able to do it outside of Washington County, but within so many miles of Washington County. I think what we've learned from that experience, and a little bit from the Kennebec County experience, is how difficult it is to bring up beds from scratch. When you start with a piece of land, and that's if you can even get anyone to do it, that's a 2-year proposition. Now, again, it all is not lost. We opened up the beds at Pine Tree Recovery the other day. Milestone's on track to open up its new beds. We've got some Wabanaki beds open in Bangor. So we're gradually getting there. But this idea that, okay, Washington County, and then my motion, New Franklin and Anscoggin, it's really hard. So, one of the things I'll be bringing to one of the things we're doing in Washington County is we are blatantly changing the geography so that it would be possible for an organization to buy Bella's house, which is closed in Springfield, Maine, because the beds are there. The beds are practically warm. It's only been closed a few months. And it's 8 miles from Washington County, by the way. So while it's not in the center of Washington County, you know, I might prefer something between Machias and Calais. It nonetheless would give them accessible detox and residential beds. So again, that's all on the state side. I think that what I'm warming you up to, and in fact, Courtney and I are looking at this property on Friday, that when we have available beds, then we ought to kind of zero in on that. And you've heard me before talk about, we have this property that was donated to a nonprofit organization in the town of Washington in Knox County, which is 30 minutes from Belfast, 30 minutes from Rockland, 30 minutes from Augusta. There are no beds for detox in central Maine. And these beds are about 2 weeks from being ready, except that the renovations are done, the property has been donated, there's no mortgage. It's owned by a nonprofit board that's got considerable experience, including 2 gentlemen who lost their daughters to addiction. And so what I'm going to probably suggest to council is that while we're working on Franklin and Androscoggin, where we may or may not get any takers, we add Knox County to this list, because they only need money to furnish those rooms and to get operational. And they would try some detox. And there's 2 psychiatric nurse practitioners on that, one consulting who used to run Bella's house, and one who used to run Open Door in Ellsworth, which we had to shut down in 2019, but not because of her. And so we've got clinicians, Pat knows these people, we got clinicians, we got consultants, we've got people with significant resources, lawyers, accountants involved in this property. 30 to 35 patients, 17 rooms, 17 bathrooms. We could be helping people in those beds in a month. And so my simple point is, and I really appreciate having the time with you, and I realize the public's on this call as well, that I just think that when you see something that's 3/4 of the way there, and they just need a little bit of help, we have a letter from Tessa's. We have a letter from them it's called Tessa's House. It's owned by the Tessa Lee Libby Foundation now. And they need $750,000. It wouldn't be the 1.5 million that we put on the ground for Franklin and Androscoggin to get this open. And they could do detox, they could do residential, they could start out with recovery residents, but I'm really interested in the detox. So that's where I am on detox right now. I'm not giving up on, we will draft appropriate RFAs for Franklin County and Androscoggin County, because in Androscoggin County, there was a proposal that was submitted to the Catalyst at the state, the Catalyst to Capital Fund, and it didn't make the cut. So I've asked them to just dust that off, get it ready for when we put out our RFP or RFA. So thanks for letting me share my current thoughts on detox.
So Gordon, a question. So when you put out this RFA or RFP on detox, is there any way I can throw in our detox at the same time as the possibility?
Who's detox? I didn't.
So the
didn't
council. I mean, if you're putting this out, you're putting it out again in that in that same proposal. Can you put out the 2 that we approved for Franklin County?
No. And it's because of that restriction that we can't give we can't take money from the county council, send it to a state organization. So and honestly, I don't want our RFAs to look exactly like the state. I mean, we can use it as a template. It will really help Brendan and Mary and Ella along with the work, but it doesn't have to look exactly like the states. So, but great idea, but no.
Thank you.
Courtney.
Gordon, I'm just wondering, and maybe this is a question for the full council, but if there's a shovel-ready project at Tessa's house, would the council be willing to consider? I wouldn't be willing to add more money to it, but I'm wondering if there could be a reconsideration of using some of the money that we've already allocated to detox centers in an effort to open beds quickly versus a very long time from now, that $3 million opening the detox center in Franklin and
Yep.
wherever the
Yep.
one, Andrew.
Yeah, no, I think that's really what I am suggesting, except that, you know, it would be kind of tough now because we don't really know what the reaction has been in Franklin or Androscoggin. And so it would be kind of too bad to start taking the money away. Those were 1.5 million each. It'd be kind of bad to start taking the money away before we've even put it out there. And I think, you know, the truth is, you know, Brendan has these things at you know, he has this information, but I think we have enough money to do all three of those projects. It's unlikely, probably, that all three might even take, so to speak. But again, this isn't another 1.5. We only need half of that to do not. So I do think that I would rework the motion and add Knox County with a smaller limit because they don't need the full 1.5. So our whole net would be, you know, it would be adding 1.5. It would be adding $750,000 to the 3 million that we committed emotionally, at least in December.
Okay, I guess I'll need to think about that. I'm pretty steadfast that I'm not going to vote for anything that doesn't go through an application process at this point, but I'm not, I don't know. I need to think about that. I just think that everybody needs to have a chance to apply for the money, but
Well, we got some time Friday for me to try for us to discuss. Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, again, if it's already there, you know, and it's already set to go, and we know that it's needed, it's a little hard, but I think it
there's a
deserves.
lot of things that are already there, set to go and needed.
I think, Courtney, to that point, I think that's worth a conversation. As a provider, and we're a pretty large organization, it is hard to get things off the ground, to your point, Gordon. But if there are kind of like other, I'd be interested in that conversation. I'm thinking beyond detox, just like what could get traction. You know what I'm saying? That's outside of detox. So just next steps, and I'll get Bruce, I'll let you go, and then we can talk about next steps with the detox conversation.
Oh, did you want, I just think that if there are things that close to the finish line, that we need to at least consider as a council, helping those things get across the finish line, especially if it fits into the pillars that we've already predetermined. And I do like this idea of kind of regional centers. So, I mean, Bella's house would be covering a region. This Tessa's project, this project would be covering a region. When we talked about Franklin County, we were talking about it being regional. And we know Lewiston, Auburn, and Androscoggin County really need this type of center too. So I just think this is starting to shape up. Some of these things happen because we plan it. Some of these things happen organically. And I think we really need to be thinking about supporting projects that are just about ready to reach the finish line. And if they fit into our pillars and they fit into our mission and our values, that I'm hoping that the council will agree to support them.
So in terms of next steps, do people want, and Gordon, feel free to chime in here too, you know, do people need more information from Gordon? Can Mary and pull together information around what Gordon just laid out and sort of the speed to which we move this? And I look to you, Pat, too. So we won't be meeting until the 19th is our next sort of scheduled meeting. So we're just guidance around kind of next steps with this conversation / work.
So for me, if what you're suggesting is that Gordon clean up that proposal just a little and see what he's doing, and is to see if this committee would suggest going back to, again, it's going back to the council to ask the council for more money. For our, again, an already criteria that we said was detox. It already fit in the pillars. So I think if we followed what we usually do, then the proposal would come here, the motion we made here, we'd vote on it if we recommend it, but it would be the full council that would vote on whether that money would be dispersed. But we certainly can review it, look at it, vote on it here, whether we make a recommendation, then it move forward, and then it would go to the full council for discussion and vote. And that's just sort of my thoughts. I'm open to hear others.
Well, I will ask them to submit I'll let the group at the foundation know that there may be interest in moving this, and that they should give us a detailed breakdown of the $750,000 and a timeline. And they still are meeting with the state licensing to determine what level of licensing they want to do with respect to residential and detox. And so we could ask them specifically, okay, what are you going to do? When can we get them open? And by the way, I should have made clear that their whole mission is women. This is a women's facility, residential treatment facility for women, and maybe their children. But I should have made that clear.
So I really would welcome sort of the written word, Gordon.
Sure.
That would be very helpful in moving it. And I think we can sort of work with Mary and around sort of like the other, what sort of gathering it all, sort of consider at the next meeting. It's big and it's a lot of work to get a detox up and running. I know from experience, and takes a lot of staff, and it's a big initiative.
Well, and it's medical. I met with Wabanaki this morning to talk about their 6 beds, and we've given them state money to expand to 10 beds. Their beds aren't full every night yet because it's new. Yeah. They have no shows. I don't know how well they're coordinating with our existing facility there at New Horizons. And so and that's why to me it's different than other things that might require an application. You actually need credible organizations that have the medical expertise to pull this off. And there's not a lot of, these are not lucrative enterprises. If we can keep them alive and break even, that's a good thing. But I'm so appreciative of all this conversation. It gives me hope.
It is a very specialized thing, and I know New Horizons up here in Bangor struggles with keeping staff. It's really, it's not easy, and it's hard to keep up with the pay scales of the other medical positions in the area. And so they do struggle, and I know that they're needed.
So Courtney, I'm reading your comment, and I think that's needs to be just,
I'll say it on the record so that the public can hear it. I highly disagree with this process. I do not think it is appropriate for this council to be picking and choosing what gets our time and energy without an application process, as there are more than 10 pending letters from organizations that have requested our funding. And I just don't understand how things are getting on the agenda and how things are not getting on the agenda, or the process and by which that is happening. So you guys can do that, but I'll probably just vote no.
And I guess I'm sort of in the pillar of just focused on detox. And I don't know that I'm willing to vote or ready to vote on anything. I'm trying to sort of understand the complexities of, we voted for our counties. I'd like for Mary and Gordon, if you could help with that, sort of just give us the landscape, if possible, of sort of Androscoggin and Franklin. Could we get something off the ground? That was what was the priority, right? So then Gordon, you're putting out another kind of shovel ready, to use the word that Miles or Bruce used. So that's sort of I'm just sort of trying to think about detox beds to our earlier conversations, and I'm not ready to make a decision myself on anything. I'm in the learning mode, learn more, and you laid out a lot of stuff, Gordon, that I'm gonna have to go back and probably look at the video to sort of better understand. But I think getting things in writing will help us to sort of to keep moving this along. And to your point, Gordon, this is not a next Monday project. Opening a new detox is a long haul.
And I don't think we did anything inappropriate. I was asked my thoughts on detox. I explained what we've learned in Washington County and how that might affect our two projects in Franklin and Androscoggin, because we offered the same amount of money, by the way. And that I saw a way where maybe we can get some detox beds in central Maine quicker. And I don't apologize for that. I think it's very appropriate. And I'm going to keep trying to convince members of this council that detox is a really high priority. We had 17 people die last week. All right. Some of those people could have died because they could not get to a detox facility. I'm not letting that go.
Okay, thank you, Gordon. And so we're gonna bring it back next time. We'll talk about it. I'll ask Mary and Gordon if you could, you go connect with her too, to sort of start pulling together some information for the committee.
Thank you.
So just sort of as we conclude, next meeting, continue the conversation about detox. Stay tuned for probably hearing from Mary and Ella around the priorities, and probably we'll learn more about applications next time, and that'll be the March 19th meeting. Any other?
On a happier note, on an announcement, Dr. Vinsel had his first grandchild last night, and he's in New Jersey, rejoicing on that happy note, and will be back with us on Sunday. And he would want me to share that with you. So let's close on that happy note.
Congrats. Oh, that's
grandbaby.
great. Thank you, Gordon, for sharing that. Well, so that'll be the agenda next time. Thank you, everyone, today. And thank you, Gordon, for coordinating our guests. They were very good. And we'll see you all next week.
We'll see y'all next week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
You're going to send me that agenda, Joe?
Yeah, I'm going to send that right now, Haley.
Perfect. Thank you. Have a good one.